Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 230. Hope you are amazing as always. I really do. Do you know what? It's 7 o'clock in the morning here on Thursday. I'm going to give you the date. I haven't given you it in a while. Thursday, the 25th of April. Do you know what? It's been interesting already this morning. And yeah, it's 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm recording a podcast. Why? Because I love you and I want to help you. So, you know what was interesting? I woke up this morning and there's so many things going on, right? There's so many, we're sorting the funnels out, the 8-figure thinker. We've launched a world-class performer and working on groups and obviously coaching and things like that. And it's lots of other things on the go, right? And what people on podcasts and videos and social media don't tell you, they don't tell you because they pretend that the gurus and everything's perfect, is that often I wake up in the morning and your mind's spinning, right? This could cause anxiety. It can cause a little bit of overwhelm. Just lots of things going on in your brain, you know? But what people don't tell you is that this happens to everybody at every level. Some days are different. Some days are, some days are amazing. Some days are in flow. Some days start and you're just excited. But other days we've got to do a little bit of work, right? And every morning I do 2 separate meditations. I do 20 minutes before I get out of bed. I sort myself out. And then I do another visualization meditation. And this is going on for years, And it was interesting because I got up this morning and it was like 5:30, 5 o'clock. So 5 o'clock alarm went off, did my meditation for 20 minutes, went downstairs, sorted the dogs out, you know what it is, and then went outside to take some rubbish or garbage, right, out. And it was interesting because I went outside, it's pitch black, stars are out, sun's out, sun's definitely not out, moon's out. You wouldn't expect to see too many people, right? Not at 5:20 in the morning. Yeah, I did. I saw a neighbor. And what was interesting is all these things going through my head. All this, all these moving parts because I hadn't meditated yet, right? Well, I'd done the first part, but the second part really settles me down. And so I was outside and the neighbor appeared with the dog and I'm like, okay, I'm not ready for you this morning yet. And what was amazing, it's funny how the universe works. Because then she proceeded to tell me for the next 5 or 10 minutes all the things that are going wrong in her life, right? I don't know. Sometimes with me, I just stand there and people just unload everything that's going on in their life to me. It's kind of a common theme. And so she was saying all this stuff and obviously I was doing what I do. And I walked away, and instead of walking away feeling negative, I actually walked away feeling really appreciative. Appreciative of, do you know what? That could have been my focus. I could have gone down that path. I could have started letting it ruin my day or take me off on a tangent. There's so many different things that could have happened, but I walked away and I just felt really grateful. I'm really grateful for everything I'm building in my life, all the people I get to help each day, the thousands of people that listen to the podcast like yourself. And it makes me happy. It made me happy because the thing is, it doesn't matter what you're going through right now. There's 2 choices. We either go into that, like that lady and just start moaning about life, or we really appreciate where we are and what we have. Because the truth is, her world is quite dark. It doesn't matter what she's got around her. Living in that perspective of the world, we've all been there. Some days are like that. But the truth is, you really want to just look at what's going on in your life right now. Because I get to do what I'm doing, right? There's choices. We can not get out of bed, right? We can beat ourselves up. We can hold ourselves back. We can procrastinate. We can do all of these things. But the truth is, there is only one path, and the path is forwards, right? Or if you want to go to a yogi way, presence, right? But it's the same thing, just with a different direction. Conversations for a different episode. But whatever's going on in your life right now, I just want you to really just take a moment, just pause, and just really think about all the things that you've got going on in your life that you're really, truly grateful for. Because it could be a person, it could be people, it could be teams, it could be a business that you're doing, it could be your health, right? It could be that you're living where you're living and you're surrounded with what you're surrounded with. It could be, it goes on. But the truth is, all of those things that you take for granted sometimes, just imagine if they weren't there. That person that puts up with you, right? Imagine if they weren't there. Suddenly you become grateful for them, right? Oh, thank you for being there. Right. It's the same with everything that's going on in your life and the projects that you are building. So when you get overwhelmed, when you get stressed, understand, you can be that lady who's 5:20 in the morning walking around with insomnia because she's freaked out. Or we be grateful. And when we get grateful, we get a different feeling inside of us. And that feeling then drives us forwards. That feeling creates a new version of us. That feeling creates momentum, drive, passion. And the truth is, as I say, we get to do our life. We get to do these projects. We get to put ourselves out there. We get to build that new business. We get to. So it doesn't matter what's going on. Just look at what's in your life right now and just be so grateful. Because that is what's going to create momentum. That's what's going to create the future. Okay? The past is done. It's done. Who cares? It's gone. The future is ours to create. But what we can get frustrated at sometimes is the speed. Right? We've all been there. And we have a visual in our head at a certain time frame things are going to happen, but just because it hasn't happened in that exact time frame doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It just means we have to relax, right? And we allow and we flow and we adjust our filter system. We build the neural nets and we adjust our chemicals and we adjust people around us. And you get the idea, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully that helps you. Hopefully that helps some area of your life because, I don't know, it just came out. But you're used to my rants by now. And speaking of rants by now, today's episode is a little bit different. It's with Stephanie. And it's definitely not a Sunday morning coffee, which we haven't done in a while. And people have been requesting that. So we were out for a walk yesterday. And I'm in Florida right now for another couple of days. And we were out for a walk and it's beautiful. The weather's so perfect. It's quite mind-blowing, to be honest. And we were out for a walk, and the thing about Florida is it's pretty beautiful, right? Yeah, it's got some swamps going on and a few crazy people. But hey, that's Florida, right? There's crazy people everywhere. I come from Liverpool in the UK, and there's probably just as many crazy people there too. But the beaches are so perfect here. You know, they really, really are. The beaches are beautiful, the parks, the lakes. And so we went for a walk and we just thought, hey, why not, right? Why not just record a podcast? So we did. And that's what today's episode's all about. And it's really cool. We go into some random topics, of course, but it's a good one. You'll like it. It's all about really what we were thinking about doing a topic, and what came up is obviously Stephanie's a coach and works with women. And what was amazing was that we started to talk about a lot of the issues that people come to us about. Now, obviously, we help different types of people, but we're all humans, right? And we're all going through different stresses, different pressures. We're all dealing with our own stresses. And that's life. But what was interesting is that the ladies that come to see her are going through very similar things emotionally as the people who come and see me. We're just doing different things, right? You'll hear that in the episode anyway. You'll hear what the difference is. But so we really started looking at this with the overwhelm, the procrastination, the stress, and we started really talking about our experiences with this, but also really helping you, gain a different perspective. And that different perspective hopefully will help you move forwards, right? That's the point. So that's the episode. It's pretty cool. It goes on for about 49.5 minutes. I definitely go on a few rants in there. Steph tells me to shut up a few times. Hey, but I need that, I need that. And I do a bit of shadow boxing and she's like, come back to the mic. But hey, guess what, right? It's a good episode and I know it's going to help you. Sound good? Good. And speaking of helping you, hey, I can only do so much. You got to help yourself first, right? And the first thing you got to do is look at number one. I've created, a free video for you. And I say it's a free video. It's a mini 12-minute training, and it's about 3 different things. There's 3 key principles that I've found over 17 years of doing this, of working with some of the best in the world. I've worked with 3 key principles that create performance. That's it, right? And if you understand them, your game and your business, your income, and your fine-tuning of your brain will start to really go to another level. So guess what you should do? Yeah, go and check it out. So hit those show notes and you'll see the video training, discover the 3 master keys all top performers use to win big. Okay, you're going to love it. The other thing is, like in the mornings I was talking about, I meditate, right? And visualize is the second meditation, or whatever you want to call it. I call it installation, I call it trance work, I call it brainwave change. Depends whatever you want to call it, but what I've created for you is something pretty damn awesome. If you could plug in your ears, your earbuds, your brain would be dropped into alpha wave, which means we've got access to the software, and I could then guide you and take over. And guess what? Get you over your money worries, create drive, motivation, passion for that day, and really look at business a different way. And if we could build that mind muscle every day, do you think that might be beneficial? Yeah, it would be damn beneficial. Well, that's there for you too. So reach your full potential with this world-class MP3. That's it. So go and look at that. The next thing. Okay, there's a couple of things. You can see I'm trying to help you a lot. I really, really am. And what I put out the last week is people are talking about the 8-figure thinker. They really are, and they're wondering what the heck it is for a start, right? Which I'm playing around with some of the messaging because I don't think it's quite clear enough for you to understand now. And so I'm going to make it easier and easier. But if you want to build yourself into being the ultimate entrepreneur, and it doesn't matter what business you're building, then that's what the 8-figure thinker is all about. It's about 17 years of tools and techniques and wisdom, getting rid of all the fluff out of the personal development industry and building you into the ultimate entrepreneur. Because I know if we do that, your business just accelerates. And as your business accelerates and goes to a whole different level, then guess what happens? Yeah, you help a lot of people. And the truth, that makes me happy. That's why I'm here on earth. That's the whole point, right? So if you love neuroscience, you love all the technical stuff, and you really want to tune your brain like a high-performance vehicle, then guess what? 8-figure thinkers for you. And this is what I've done. It's usually $5,000, but what I've done for you is I've give you a massive discount and also a demo. You can see parts of the 8-figure thinker for free. Right, so that's pretty damn cool, isn't it? So go and hit those show notes and you're going to be able to get access now. The next level. The next level is, well, it's the next level. Plain and simple, right? And what I want you to do is to apply to see if you qualify for something real special. It's called Unlock Your Performance Session. Yeah, it's free. But what does that mean? Well, it means you've still got to qualify. And really what it is, you can sit down with me, which is pretty damn cool, or one of my coaches. And what we do is we work out where you're at, what package or what product or what system or what the heck's right for you to really help you. Doesn't matter what level of business you're playing at. It doesn't matter. This is about discovering what is the right fit for you and how you can help yourself. That's it. So go and apply for Unlock Your Performance free session. And yeah, I might be seeing you, which is pretty awesome. So why don't you go and hit those show notes up before we jump into the episode? Because, it's time. God, we're nearly in May. Think about that. Think about that, right? We're nearly in May. We got to do something. And speaking of doing something and awesome things, let's jump into the episode. What's going on, crew? So, we're sitting here. Say hello, Stephanie.
Hey, crew. What's going on?
So, we're sitting here, and we thought we'd record the podcast. It's been a while, right? And it's definitely not Sunday, so this is like midweek something. I don't know, right? But we're sitting here anyway, and we thought we'd go for a little walk. And it's pretty cool. I'm sitting in Florida, which probably the wrong word to use is cool. But it is, man. We're sitting here. It's a beautiful lake in front of us. It's perfectly blue sky. You've got birds chirping or cheep. What's the word? Chirping?
It's chirping. I think you can say cheep. Some of them are cheeping as well.
Chirping. So chirping in the tree, and it's beautiful. And there's no one around. And I think, what time is it? About 4 o'clock?
Yeah, I think it's like 4:30ish.
Yeah, and it's perfect, right? So it's interesting because it's been a busy week. As always, growing and hustling and building and pushing after our dreams. But you know what? We thought we'd have a little chat. And you get contacted by so many different types of people with so many different types of businesses and stages of the business and stages of life, you know, from 25-year-olds to 65-year-olds. You know, one of my clients right now is a 69-year-old surgeon. It doesn't matter about the age. It just depends on where you are in life, you know. And what was interesting is we were talking about some of the characteristics or the common pains or the issues that people are going through. So, I don't know, we thought we'd have a chat about some of them.
That's right, yeah.
So I think our first topic is, I don't know about you, Steph, but I get a lot of people just coming to me. And again, it doesn't matter what they're doing in business. They could be starting a new project. They could be expanding. They could be taking new people on inside of their business. They could be launching a new internet marketing product or building a funnel or whatever it is. But it's overwhelm, right? Overwhelms to me is one of the biggest things that people come to me originally with. Now, we unpack them and unlock them, and there's a million, trillion, zillion other things in there. But I don't know. Overwhelm, right? So what are you thinking about that, first of all?
Well, I would say, honestly, you have to couple overwhelm with yet another topic that we can kind of cover a little further down the road, but you have to couple that with procrastination. Because overwhelm directly correlates to how much you're procrastinating. And I really primarily work with beginner stage entrepreneurs. It's what I love to do. I love helping people figure out their passions and then create a business around that passion, and preferably online so that you can travel anywhere around the world.
Damn right.
Yes, we value freedom immensely. So anyway, so basically what happens is that I have clients come in, they have this great idea, they've worked on it a bit maybe, but there's something stopping them, and oftentimes it's that overwhelm. So they procrastinate, right? So it's like they know they need to record a video, or they know they need to hop on Facebook Live or Instagram stories or whatever it is, but for whatever reason they just haven't done it, and they've been procrastinating it, and it's because they feel so overwhelmed about stepping into something they've never done before, right? So this oftentimes will happen if you have to build a website, right? You've never built a website before. You'll procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate because you feel so overwhelmed by the tech. So does that make sense?
Yeah, overwhelmed. So it basically, the brain running multiple loops, or having multiple open loops in the brain, right? So when we have a conversation, I could start the conversation going, do you know what I did yesterday? It was really, really cool. Oh, by the way, do you see that bird over there? You see that? It's a really cool bird. Oh, by the way, yesterday what we were doing is, that's closing a loop. So in our brain, what happens is we open a topic, then we'll go on to the next topic, and then we never complete the first topic. We never close that loop. We use these tactics for being on stage and videos and all the other things. But imagine, right? And you ladies out there might be definitely able to imagine this even more than us guys. But you've got constant open loops going on in your brain, right? So what you're saying there, Steph, is that, so I've got to build a website, right? So then that's not just building a website. That's writing the copy. That's doing the research, looking at the opt-in.
Picking the images. Yeah.
Picking the font. Picking
the template. That's another thing that people get overwhelmed with, is just simply even just picking the template. Yeah.
Right. And then actually getting it designed, built, critiquing, and then maybe you want to SEO the thing, right? And it goes on. So there's this big, massive list of open loops that are going through people's brains. And the thing is, if you're thinking about 28 things and over one project, then is it any wonder that the brain doesn't know what to focus on? It doesn't know where to go. And each one of these things you've got a different emotion about. So this just becomes a complete ball of stress, emotion. And if something's that stressful, do you want to do it? Or do you want to kind of put it off till tomorrow?
The other thing about that is that it also, so you were just saying that overwhelm, it's like if you feel that amount of stress about it, do you want to do it? The other crazy thing about stress is that the stress centers in the brain, when they get lit up, they actually decrease motivation. So not only are you overwhelmed and feeling stressed, but then on top of that, the centers of the brain that actually control motivation, which is what you need in order to move forward, get completely shut off and overridden by the stress. So it's no wonder that people do have a tendency to procrastinate when they're feeling overwhelmed. And also, I think if you can just prioritize things, it helps too, because if you have a big, huge project, like let's say starting a business and your first ever entrepreneurial business, like the women that I like to work with, it's that you're doing everything for the first time, and there's a never-ending list, right? So Andy and I have this never-ending list of stuff to do all the time. Beginner stage entrepreneurs do, regular entrepreneurs do, mid-level, high-level, we all have this endless list. And so if you focus on all of the stuff that you have yet to complete, it will completely stress you out and cause overwhelm and procrastination too.
But that leads to focus, right? And the truth is, if we're taking... how the brain works is different stats for different things, but if we're taking over 2 million bits of information blasting through all our senses every second, and that's getting chunked down or filtered down into just a handful of things, about 3 to 5 things, right? So if we can only consciously focus on about 3 to 5 things, and we've got all of these projects and all of these bits, and our focus, remember what Steph just said, our focus is on what we have, is that the word? Have to get done. My dyslexia is kicking in right now. Have to get done, right? If we're focusing on what we have to get done, well, that's an never-ending pile that we've got to get done. So then guess what opens? More open loops. And if our focus goes on that, we go deeper down that rabbit hole, then guess what that's going to cause? Yeah, stress. And then it's going to cause what? Cortisone level spikes and all of this in the brain?
All the stress hormone level spike. And then the other crazy thing about stress hormone levels that you guys have to know is that when your stress hormone levels get elevated, so as we now know, they also shut off the motivation centers. That's not good for business.
No.
But also the other thing that happens is that it causes small lapses in memory. So essentially,
right.
and you guys have probably all experienced this one. So let's say you're in an argument with someone, and at the time you're like, oh, I'm just really mad at you. And then 10, 15 minutes later, after you guys get off the phone or you walk away or you drive away, you're like, I should have said this and I should have said that and I should have said this and I should have said that. And that's because when your stress hormone levels get really elevated, you forget. So imagine what you're forgetting when you're feeling this overwhelm. It's like you're forgetting the simple things, you're forgetting the easy things, you're forgetting that, oh my gosh, I don't have to, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? That saying, it's so true. It's the same with your business. You can only do small chunks at a time, but those small steps lead to big changes. And I can't remember what Tony Robbins says, but I think he says something along the lines of, we oftentimes overestimate what we can get done in 10 years, but underestimate what we can get done in a year, or vice versa. Anyways,
what it is, it's we overestimate what we can get done in a year and underestimate what we can do in a lifetime. Tony says 10 years, but that's what it is.
Gotcha. So anyways, those are those stepping stones that get you to your next best place. So even if you just write one line of copy, that's getting you closer to getting that website done than it is to do absolutely nothing and overwhelm and procrastination.
I love that. And the cool thing about that is how habit formation is created is micro commitments or micro steps. So just like what you said then is like, just by getting that one sentence down, what that does is it starts to form a new circuit or new neural net in the brain, and that completes. And even though it's a new muscle, right, even though it's a new thought or a new belief or a new task that you completed, it's completed. And just because you start that process, then the brain starts to go, oh, I know what that feels like. And so what that micro commitment then, that it starts to form a habit, right? Because one sentence leads to the next sentence, or one action leads to the next action. And what that starts to do is it starts to adjust our focus. And instead of focusing on, like we were before, on all the things that we have to get done, right, which causes anxiety, stress, overwhelm, and all the rest of it, what we're doing is adjusting our focus onto moving forwards, right? We start to lean in. And when we start to lean into something, everything starts to adjust, right? The focus, the chemicals, the belief, the vision of the business. And maybe that connects and links to the overall purpose, right? Because you're building a website for no reason unless you're crazy, because it's a pain in the ass.
Hey, I built mine.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't build my stuff. I bring people in because that's not my skill, right? I can just talk. I can talk and help people, right? And build things. But yeah, you built yours, right?
Yeah, I have a little bit more patience than you do, though.
Yeah,
so, but that's another podcast for another day, you guys.
But the truth is, yeah, you did. And you built it in Squarespace, right?
I did, yeah. It was super simple and easy.
See, it works.
I mean, it's so funny how hindsight's 20/20, because at the time it didn't seem very easy at all. But now that it's all complete, it's like, oh, that wasn't hard.
And then you learn it, right? And then you don't have to. You can look after it yourself. Everything I build is in WordPress, and funnels are all in ClickFunnels, right? But again, it's funny, even with ClickFunnels, I had the worst impression of ClickFunnels because of developers working with me. And then you bring in the right people, and the right people go, no, we love it. And then, because they know how to use it right. And perception is reality. It's so crazy because it's just so true. And imagine if you could just switch your perception. And I work in an outside company as a mindset coach. And there's a lot of people who come in immediately and they say,
I'm not good at tech. I suck at tech. I'm horrible at tech.
Right,
I'm horrible at copywriting. I'm horrible on camera. Well, guess what? If you keep saying that over and over and over again, guess what's gonna happen? The tech's gonna go wrong. You're gonna be horrible on camera. All of this stuff.
Yeah, of course.
What we say to ourselves is just so powerful, and the words that we use are so powerful.
Well, they create emotions. You know, and people don't realize that. I teach this is when we're dealing with high level performance, and you could be, again, product launching, you could be doing anything, just stepping into a meeting or a sales call. The thing is about that is that, again, we could go into detail, but let's talk about just focus for a moment there. And if your focus is on those words, and those words are automatic, and each word's connected to an emotion, and your emotion, these are all things I teach, emotion drives your state or the version of you, then what you're doing is you're stepping into that call, that meeting, or sitting at your desk each day to produce results. And the emotion that's being pumped around you is definitely not the one you want. And then people wonder why they procrastinate, or they get overwhelmed, or they freak themselves out, or they're not getting things done. All the same thing, right? But when we start to understand one simple little change, right? One simple little change in focus, one simple little technique we can show you another time, what that does is it starts to then create a different version of you, and that different version of you becomes becomes that salesperson, or steps into flow, or creates that who has that vision of the business, right? Because often we can get lost, because when we're going through this procrastination, this stress, this overwhelm, whatever it is, right? Yeah, we're talking to ourselves, all of that, but we can stop the creativity. You know, and the thing about what an entrepreneur is, it's the same thing as every building that's been built, the park that we're sitting in, well, the trees, you know, they built themselves, but the buildings and the roads and this microphone and this phone, it comes from creativity. It comes from somewhere. And as an entrepreneur, how we make money and how we help people is by being creative. And the biggest frustration is when we're not being creative. And it doesn't matter where you are right now. You could be truly in an absolute mess. You could be booming. But the person who's in a mess right now, maybe it's you, so maybe you should listen. But if it's you right now, I don't really care. And it sounds brutal, but I really don't. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, and I'm not a normal coach. Those are people who are going to go, it's okay, you'll be okay, it's okay. I'm like, yeah, shit happens. Now what? Now what are we doing? Let's switch on. Let's get creative. Let's get clear on what we want. Let's get clear on that vision. Let's reverse engineer it, and let's move forward, you know? That's the way I work. Because there's been so many times in my life that I've been without food. I've been without rent money. I've been lost in business. I've been struggling so much, and yet, remember, I've done this for 17 years, you know? So, and the thing is, it didn't matter what situation was and how bad it was. The creativity, the intuition is the thing that pulls you into that next step. So when I say, I don't care where you are, yeah, I do, I love you. But now what? That becomes off focus. It makes sense? Again, I'm ranting on here, sitting in a park.
That's what you do. It's all good. They're used to your rants.
For sure.
So the other thing about creativity, and so if you guys know anything about me, you'll know that, well, my former life was a researcher, so I'm very, very solid in science. I love neurology, I love the science of the brain, but I'm also very extremely spiritual, and I love to mix those two together. And when you are sitting in overwhelm, and when those stress centers of the brain are really getting fired off, there's a couple things that happen, and one of them is that your intuitive guidance that comes from God, universe, source, spirit, angels, whatever you want to call it, that divine presence gets completely clouded and turned off. It's like the tap gets shut. the tap to your intuition, the tap to your creativity, the tap to your inner knowing, your heart-centered self, and it all goes to the head. So you get out of your heart space, which is where your intuition lies and your creativity, and you're just going straight into the head where it's like, and then this can happen and that can happen, and I don't know about this, and all this stuff. Your brain just creates so many open loops. The way that Andy was saying, it's like there's so many open loops that you just become paralyzed. Yep. And I'm sure you've probably felt that before. So sometimes procrastination is actually not even procrastination, it's paralyzation. It's so many open loops that you don't even know how to move forward or where to go. And I experienced this again. I'm very blessed to be able to work inside of another company as a mindset coach, working with very high-level entrepreneurs in the health space. And it's crazy how I will meet with them and they've been paralyzed for about 2 weeks and haven't made any movement forward on their great vision. And it's all because of these open loops. So it's cool that I can help them, guide them through that. And then guess what? They leave in about a 20-minute call and they're on fire. That's how awesome coaching is too. Well,
that's true. It's true. But it's not, it was interesting on Joe Rogan's podcast. I put an email out the other day about this, and I'm not sure if I did a video about this inside the Facebook group. Who knows? But it was Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart was obviously one of the top comics in the world, sells stadiums out, and he does so much. It's ridiculous. Do you know The Rock? Everyone knows The Rock, right? Well, he's as busy or productive as The Rock. And if you've never followed The Rock or know nothing about him, he's going to blow your mind. Stop following him on Instagram. Actually, stop following us on Instagram. Go and check the show notes out, because I'm focusing a lot on Instagram right now.
And I'm very, very active on, and so are you actually, on Insta stories.
Well, I'm just getting going on Insta stories, but yeah. Anyway, Kevin Hart. It was interesting. I love this, and I'm going to post this video. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I've got it saved, ready to go. And it was interesting because he spoke about. Well, Rogan was like this: how can you do so much? Because he's just, besides being one of the top comics in the world, and when constantly touring and doing all this, he's in constant movies. He's bringing his own. He's got his own supplement line. He's got loads of other things on the go, right? And Rogan's like, "Well, when's enough?" And he gives it. "Have you got enough money?" He gives it. "Yeah, I'm good for money, but it's not about money." And Rogan was like, "Well, what is it about? When's enough?" And he gives it. "Well, my attitude's like this. I come from the most ghetto of ghettos you can imagine, for a start, right?" So he gives it. He's still living in a little bit of fear, which is okay. It's a driver. But basically, he was making sure that he never goes back there. Makes sure his family never goes back there. And I get that. We've all got that type of driver, right? But he was saying, he gives it the supplement line, for example. He's like, "Well, I love supplements, so why wouldn't I create a brand? Why wouldn't I create a product? I've got all these other products that I use, so why wouldn't I create a product?" A supplement company. And he gives it, "Why? Because I don't know how?" Well, no. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I create this? Why wouldn't I? And the thing is, he talked about his life being like a book, and it's such a simple concept, and we've heard it before, but he lives by this, right? And it's like, I want my book to be amazing. And Rogan's like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I want to get to the end of my life and be able to look back on everything that I've done or tried to do or accomplished and go, damn, that's a hell of a story, man. Look at that. That's a hell of a story." So it's like he gets to this next bit. Okay, you become one of the top comics in the world, then do this. And then it's like, well, what else can I do? So he's also learning, like he trains every day. And he was unfit, but now he trains every day. And now he's learning to box. And he's becoming all right at boxing. But then he's like, okay, I want to learn jiu-jitsu next. And it's like, not to be able to fight, just because I want to learn it. Because I want to be able to look through their eyes. I want to be able to experience it more. So it's the same with the supplement business. He gives it, I just want to learn how to do it so I can help more people. And then this is how his brain works. So it never ends. There is no golden day that you're gonna be sitting in a hammock and you're done, right? It's a case of, how can I fill my buck with experiences? And when you take that attitude, think about this, right? Think about that. When I was speaking then, what was the emotion? Because you were going in your head and you were referring it to a project that you've got and you're doing right now. I know you were, because that's how brains work. So when you were doing that, again, what was the emotion? Were you leaning in? Were you leaning out? Were you in fixed mindset or were you in growth mindset? Were you excited or were you afraid? Do you see the difference? You see the contrast? Which one do you think that Kevin Hart's pushing towards? Right, leaning in, going after it, driving forwards, creating. So when you do that, and that is the focus, what's the biggest emotion? Yeah, it's not fear, is it? Right? And if it's not fear and we're leaning in, do you think you might be more willing to get shit done?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because basically one thing that Kevin Hart has is massive self-confidence and a high self-esteem.
That's true.
Right? And so it's, when it comes to overwhelm, when it comes to procrastination, a lot of it has to do with lack of self-confidence, lack of self-worth, and being scared that you're going to be judged, or being scared you're not going to do it right. Because listen, okay, put it this way.
Everything.
Totally. And so put it this way. If you knew you couldn't fail, then why would you stop? Why would you procrastinate? A lot of it has to do with the confidence level that we have in our business, in our knowledge and skills and abilities, in our ability. Like, are we going to make it? Is it going to work? Are people going to like it? Are people going to judge me? Right. And all of that comes from lack of self-worth, lack of self-confidence, and a low self-esteem.
And yeah, and again, when we start to understand that, life becomes pretty simple. You know, we just got to tune into what we want to accomplish and what's the truth. And I think in these days, it's like, I think that's a big question that people have lost. You know, what's the truth? Because what's the truth to why you're building your business? Well, I saw some dude on Instagram who's got a Ferrari and I want one. All right, well, you get your Ferrari, now what? Well, I want this. Okay, you get that, then now what? It never ends with now what's. But that doesn't make you feel good, you know? It was interesting, Dan Bilzerian, I don't know if you know Dan, he's got a monster Instagram account, and he lives like, he's like the modern day Hugh Hefner, but with way more money, right? And he lives on a boat, this big yacht, and he's just like, he's a baller. And he was on Rogan's podcast, again, talking about Rogan's podcast again, right? So, and he was on Rogan's podcast, and he was talking about the difference between happiness and pleasure. And he gives it, listen, Joe, if someone bought me a Lamborghini today, right? My pleasureometer, these are my words, right? Pleasureometer would be at like a 1, maybe even a 0. He gives it, buying a Lamborghini gives me no pleasure because I've bought many of them myself, right? So the thing is that you've got to be careful, and this is the other thing, right? You've got to be careful what you get too young, because that affects your pleasureometer, right? So if he gives it 20 years ago, if I'd have got a Lamborghini or someone to give me a Lamborghini, he gives it, my pleasureometer would have been at 12 out of 10, right? It'd have been off the roof. But he says none of those things, pleasureometer is like subjective, but none of those things create true, innate, heartfelt happiness. They don't. They give you pleasure.
They give you momentary pleasure, but after that pleasure is over, you're then left with yourself again.
So if you flipped it, you flip that, right? Not saying not to have shiny stuff. I love shiny things. The shiny stuff's awesome. But when we buy the shiny things like I used to years ago, and you feel that shiny thing then fills your self-worth, because other people look at you and go, oh, you must be awesome because you have that thing. Then what happens is when you're on your own with that shiny thing, and there's no one to tell you it's awesome, it doesn't feel good.
You feel empty.
Well, you feel like, no, you've actually got to go, oh, there's a hole there, right? And that's the bit. So if we flip it and we understand that what we're creating is true happiness inside of us by, building our neurology, becoming the best version of us, deep diving into whatever you call spirituality or meditation, hanging around with the right people, immersing yourself in the right knowledge and books. All of this stuff starts to build a frame or a base in your unconscious mind, your automatic mind, which is the software. You start to build that version of you. And part of that version of you is content and happy, right? And if you're content and happy, sitting on your own, imagine if you wanted a Lamborghini and somebody got it you. Do you see the difference? Then you're going to really appreciate and want that car or that house or that level of income in your bank account, or starting that charity, or seeing that kid's face when you've helped them, or whatever it is. But if we flip it and we get the external things first, the external pleasure runs out. It does. It's like everybody tries to get a car, right? Everybody wants the shiniest, brightest, biggest, nicest car. Well, not everyone. These days people get it, right? Because they know it doesn't mean nothing. But if you're listening to this and you're still thinking that, then okay, go and get the car. Come and see me in 2 years, right? And I'll be very interested. But by getting this internal satisfaction, this internal understanding, this internal presence, what it means is that everything that we get, we really appreciate. And everybody's trying to get the car. My whole goal in life is to never have one ever again in my entire life. Think about that. Does it mean that I don't want to drive them or borrow them or rent them? Sure. But I don't want to have or own a car. There's not many things I want to own. What does that even mean? Well, cars, I'm going on another rant, but cars are not an income producing asset for a start. It 100% depreciates unless you've got some vintage pimp thing or a McLaren. So, should I shut up for a bit? I think I've been ranting. I get excited, you know? So, any thoughts to any of that, Steph?
Yeah, basically, at the end of the day, self-worth cannot come from things, right? And the biggest transformations that I've seen in my clients, in their businesses, in my life, in my business, is when I turned inward and understood that confidence and self-esteem and worthiness and all of those things were nothing that I could get outside of myself. And once I felt really, really confident, and you guys, I suffered with severe anxiety to where I couldn't even leave the house at one point, and severe depression, and they put me on all kinds of medications and all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff. And I was able to heal myself from all of those things by really diving deep into mindset shifts and this neurological world and the science behind the brain and all of that stuff. And then also deep spirituality and turning inward and fixing myself. Right now, Andy is about 20 feet away from the microphone doing, what are you doing? Karate? What? He's shadow boxing. Good job. So once I was able to do that and turn myself internally, my whole entire world changed, my life changed, my business changed, my anxiety levels completely diminished, my depression completely disappeared. I was able to get off any kind of medication that I was on. And so that's how powerful the mind is. And not only how powerful the mind is, how powerful you are. And I think that at the end of the day, with Andy's podcast, what he's always wanting to do is just empower you as the listener to understand that you can really be, do, and have anything that you want. And if you currently are feeling overwhelmed, or if you're currently suffering with procrastination, or if you're currently feeling like you don't know if you're good enough, smart enough, strong enough to do whatever your big dreams are, the fact of the matter is that any of those fear-based thoughts are wrong. They are wrong, they are wrong, they are wrong, and you can 100% do this. Now, if you have help from a coach or someone like that, will it happen a lot faster? Yes. Can you do it on your own? Yes, if you have the right tools and strategies and techniques, yes, but it'll take a bit longer. But whichever route you choose, whether you choose to get pulled up the mountain with a coach, or if you choose to just slow and steady go up the mountain on your own, the point is just to take action on this now.
So I'm back, right? Doing a little shadow boxing over there. So yeah, that was crazy. When I first met you like 5 years ago, that was where you were at, right? You were hiding in a little shell. You were definitely, like, it was funny because you jump on Facebook Lives now and just pop them off for 20 minutes or whatever it is. You talk forever. Talk more than me. And then
I don't know about that. You guys, actually, we should take a poll. Is that true? I don't think so.
Whatever. And then but it'd take you like a day to do a video. And you wouldn't even get it done.
You guys, he's not joking. Like, it would literally take, and actually my friend Jackie, God bless Jackie. If you're listening, Jackie, I am so sorry, because she used to have to just sit there and I would make her leave the room completely when I was filming. And oh my goodness, it's just crazy what's possible when you set your mind to change.
Yeah, but you're building, like, it's the same with anything, right? And it's when you start something new, your brain doesn't understand it. So because you're going into something new, it's literally alarm bells are going off inside of it, making sure that you're safe or you're in danger. So that's the same with stepping into a new area of your business or life. It's the same thing. So when you were doing that video back then, it was brand new to you. And because you hadn't, and this is the whole point, right? You hadn't pre-trained your brain. You hadn't visualized or trained it to see the outcome and see the steps.
Well, not only, I didn't do that, that's for sure. I 100% didn't do that, but I also lacked self-confidence. I had a low self-esteem. I had a lack of self-worth. I felt extreme overwhelm. I didn't want to do it. I felt a lot of pain around it.
Right.
And the thing is that sometimes, so I heard this saying, and it's so true, is that sometimes there's people and they're living in hell and it's so hot and they don't want to be there and it sucks. But there's a ladder that leads out, okay? There's a ladder that leads out of hell. But the ladder is made out of metal. So it's a metal ladder. So the first few rungs are super, super painful. So a lot of times people will grab those first couple rungs and they grab on, it's hot, it burns their hands, and they jump off. But what they don't understand is that if they just keep going a bit further, oh, it's a little warm now. Oh, it's totally cool now. Oh, it's totally normal temperature, and I can climb all the way to the top and get out of where I'm at.
Nice analogy.
It is, isn't it?
It's good. But yeah, it hurts at the start. It's the same with anything, right? But it's interesting that you say you didn't want to do it because of lack of self-worth.
Totally.
But imagine if there's always something in the brain, there's always something in your life that you felt confident about. There's always something. There's always one thing. It could be...
Well, for me, it was research. I knew I was a good researcher.
Right. So if we'd have gone back into that memory and you'd have actually found that feeling of pride, that confidence, that self-worth when you get to the end of a research project, you're going to have a certain perspective, certain beliefs, and you're going to have a certain emotion. Well, from that place, if then we started to visualize or train the brain to move into a different scenario, right? What we're doing is connecting those emotions to that new thing. So by doing that video, for example, if I'd have known you back then what we would have done is brought you back to that place and then built forwards, right? So your brain or your nervous system will get used to that feeling, that belief, that focus, that pride, that self-worth connected with completing the video. And the more we did that, then guess what? You would have been able to do that video faster and faster and easier and smoother. And the thing about that is, think about that with business. Because there's been moments in your business life that you have been successful, and there's moments in your life that we've all screwed up, right? And that's just the way it is, or someone's let us down or ripped us off a timeline and whatever it is. So if we start going back and going into those memories where what's called a resource state or a awesome version of us, then understand that the chemicals, the feelings, and everything else are there. And we can start playing with the future or ideas or concepts or whatever it is from that place. Does that make sense?
Totally, yeah, that makes sense. And then the other thing that you have to understand too is that there's levels, right? So me even considering to be on camera was about 1,000 times rungs above that ladder than it was previously, when it was like, if you even put a camera near me, I would have completely hid behind the couch or something. So that's the thing too, is that we also have to give ourselves so much credit for just taking those steps on the ladder, understanding that they are leading to the next best place. They're just stepping stones. So where I was then, when it took me literally a whole day to film a 5-minute video, to where I am now, where it's like, put a camera in front of me and I'm just like, blah, 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 I can say whatever, do whatever, and it's fine. You know, it just took practice and showing myself that I could do it, and also doing that deep internal work. I can't begin to tell you or explain to you the importance of that. And I really, really believe that successful businesses are 80% inner work and only 20% external work, meaning the Facebook ads or the websites or the package prices and the sales calls and all that stuff. If you don't get the internal right, the external, which is those action pieces, are never, ever going to work.
Right, and that's a beautiful thing, right? And it's the same if we look at sports, and obviously that's where I started my career, was working with professional athletes and world champions and fighters and stuff. And the thing is, when let me use a different analogy, right? There's this cool picture, and it's because of social media that we see glimpses and snapshots of people's success, but we don't see the ride and the journey and the day-to-day ups and downs and emotional roller coaster that people go on every day to get that level of success. And this is a cool image, and I'll see if I can find the image and I'll post it somewhere. But the image is this: it's like there's a guy standing on a ledge, and he's successful. He's an older guy. He's got the money. He's happy. All of those things. And there's a younger person, standing on the floor, looking up at this person, and they can see all that success, right? They can see him happy, content, everything that he would want. And he says to himself, or she says to himself, "That looks easy." Right? It does look easy.
And there's also that saying, like, oh, he's an overnight success that took 20 years in the making, right? It's like, you only see what we see on Instagram, Facebook, all of those things are a very curated imagery of the highest points of people's lives. And you don't see the journey. You really don't.
We also don't see 2 seconds before that video or that screenshot or that photo, and you don't see 2 seconds after. That person could be freaking out, then they know, could be arguing.
And then they smile, yay!
Everything's perfect. Be like me. You do not want to be like fucking nobody, right? And that's what used to drive me crazy about the personal development industry. Still does drive me crazy, but it was definitely like the motivational speakers who were standing on stage who go, "Be like me, be like me." Don't be like them, man. Be like you. That's the whole point. It's because, and I've said this so many times, but whatever, crew, you're going to be used to me. It's a case of, it's the people who look at Hollywood, the best marketing machine ever, right? There's ever been in the history of the world, besides probably society, right? But that's a different conversation. But Hollywood are the best marketing machine on the planet. They've affected the whole of the world. Just think about that, right? It's only a part of LA, and it's only a industry, yet that industry has been so clever at marketing and branding, it's affected the whole world. And what my whole point is, I've lived in LA, and the whole point is, everybody goes to LA and tries to, say actors, they go and try and be an actor. So what they do is they find somebody who is massively successful and they try to be like them. Now, that's great for modeling, and I don't mean modeling, physical modeling. I mean neurological modeling, like copying, right? Certain beliefs, certain ways they do things, the way they walk into meetings, all of that stuff's all good. But the people who stand out, the people that we speak about, the people that are there for generations are the Brad Pitts and people like that, right? The people who are authentically 100% them. They are full of self-worth, full of confidence, full of drive, dealing with their own emotions and the roller coaster every day. People are saying that they got turned down by 1,000 different auditions, but it's the ability to reset, focus on what we want, work on our self-worth that keeps us driving forwards. And that's the people in Hollywood that stand out. Well, you're no different, because these days Hollywood isn't just Hollywood anymore. It's the internet, right? We're all our own producers, we're all our own marketers, we're all our own brand people, we're all our own experts, and we can be our own marketing machine. So we don't need Hollywood anymore, right? But the point is, the self-worth is what creates the highest level of success, or the opposite, okay? Because you've got to also understand that people who loathe themselves and hate themselves also can create massive success, right? And this is probably a thing that most people don't talk about, but it's the truth. Because most billionaires or really successful people don't have a very good impression of themselves. They don't have self-worth, right? And that sounds like a bizarre statement, but it's true. They're living in pain, which means they're living in ego. So the more they accumulate, the more pleasure they get, the more people think they're awesome, the more self-worth that fills them up for a while. But until that person is on their own, then those external things don't mean anything anymore. Then what that means is that then they have to deal with it, right? But there was a story recently, podcast, probably Rogan, right? But it was a billionaire died recently, and he went in and he died. It's a shame, but he died from having a penis extension. Didn't think I was going to say that, did you?
No, I was not expecting that.
He died from having a penis extension. And it didn't matter how much money he had, much business he had, he didn't feel self-worth about himself, right? So he died in that operation. And they said the only thing that made him feel worthy, he used to sit and look at his bank balance. Think about that, right? So that person, if you gave him all of that money, he still wouldn't feel worthy, he still wouldn't have self-worth. So he used that pain to accumulate everything outside of him to try and fill that lack of self-worth. But the truth is he couldn't. And it ended up killing him. Crazy, right? Crazy. So we're going to wrap this up now. So what's the lesson of all of my crazy rants and your good stuff?
I would say the lessons are, don't try to fill yourself up with a penis extension.
Don't get a Lamborghini unless you really are happy.
Yeah. But in all reality and seriousness, the number one thing that you can focus on is your internal self-worth, your internal self-esteem, your internal self-love, and then act in that, with that energy. Right? Yeah. So rather than overwhelm, rather than fear, rather than, oh my God, I have to get this done, or oh my God, I don't know if I can do it, or it's like, no, what does my heart know to be true?
It's true. And then it's like, well, then we can add the techniques, the tools, the systems, you know? And that's what Steph's brilliant at. She's brilliant at working with women who've got the spiritual flavor, who basically, got an idea or a concept new in business or whatever it is and want to get it out to the world.
That's 100% my sweet spot right there. It's just helping women live lives they truly love and step up. So there's some women who literally don't understand their worth, but I have a gift. I feel confident saying that now. I have a gift to be able to look at someone and just automatically see their worth, their value, and what they're capable of. And then we bring them up to that level. So my vision of what I can see of them, we then work with many systems, tools, strategies, techniques, science-based and spirituality-based, and we bring them up to a level where then they can go after the goal. Or there's people who already have businesses and they're just ready to scale, or things aren't working, or they've invested thousands of dollars in business strategies and tools and funnels and all kinds of stuff, and it's not panning out. And that's because we have to do the 80%, which is the internal work.
It's true. It's true. And that leads me to who my sweet spot. And my sweet spot is anyone who needs fine tuning. Any entrepreneurs are high performer already, and they're already kicking ass to a degree, right? And they just want to fine tune their brain because they know that it's time to scale. They know it's time to take things to the next level, or they've just dipped in performance, or they're kicking ass and they need that consistency. Well, just 20x, you know? So hopefully you got something out of that today. Hopefully, because we're sitting in a park, so I think we need to go and walk in the park, right?
Yeah, walk in the park, have dinner, all of the things.
All of the good stuff. So, yeah, much love. And I think what we'll do is we'll keep these going for once a month, whether it's the Sunday morning coffees or the midweek something.
We'll create a name, a cool name.
Midweek talking in
midweek
a park.
Wake up. Midweeks, I don't know what. We'll
Something.
figure it out.
Something. But yeah, until the next time, much love, and we'll see you very soon. Okay, crew, there we go. The end of episode 230. Did you love it? You love Steph? Of course you gotta love Steph, right? And hopefully you had fun and learned lots of stuff in that episode. I really do. That's my whole intention. We put a lot of time, effort, and energy into these episodes, and it's just about helping. That's all I care about. And speaking of caring, you should be caring about yourself. You really should, right? So I want you to go over to the show notes and find the link that serves you best, right? Plain and simple, whether you want to watch the video and get those 3 master keys which are going to help you, do it, right? The link's there. Whether you want to tune your brain up like myself in the mornings, well, guess what? That world-class audio is there. Click that link. If you want to maybe connect with Steph, and if you're a woman in business, you have to just chat with her, right? You have to just chat with her. Her link is in there. Guess what else? If you want a demo access to the 8-figure thinker and really get a taste of how to build yourself into the ultimate entrepreneur, and it doesn't matter what level of business or whatever business you're doing, guess what? Go and check that out too. The next thing, well, it's not for everybody, but it might be for you. And that's where you get to sit down with me or one of my coaches, and guess what? Yeah, we work out what the right fit is for you. We work out a package, product, system. What do you need personally to be able to help yourself take your game to the whole next level? So that's there too. That's Unlock Your Performance session. So no matter what, head over to those show notes, do yourself a favor, and yeah, maybe you want to listen to this episode again. Maybe you want to write me a review. Maybe you want to hang out with me on Instagram or Facebook. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you wherever it is real soon. But the only thing I ask is you do your best today. So crew, until the next episode, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.